What's going on, guys? Robert Garcia back here on the Lockdown Defense Sports Network. And in today's video, we're going to be going over some more off-season fun. We got the NFC East side of things that we're going to be talking about today. As I pull up my little PowerPoint, shout out to Coach Defense for putting this all together for us. So yeah, it's pretty simple, guys. Who's going to get tagged? Who's going to get the bag? And who's going to resign from their current team? A lot of fun stuff to get into. So let's just dive right on into it. First things first, taking a look at the cap projections for all the teams in the NFC East. And taking a look at those top two teams there, the NFC Championship game this year. Got the Eagles coming in with 13.8 mil. The Commanders leading the division with 68.4, man. And it's just scary to think that that team was in the NFC Championship game and they're going into this offseason with, I believe that's the sixth amount of cap space. I could definitely be wrong, but they're definitely top 10. And if you're just coming off a championship appearance, a conference championship appearance, and you have that much money to spend, you are excited. They got Jaden on the rookie deal. I mean, yeah, if you're a Commanders fan, you're very happy and very much looking forward to this offseason. Eagles coming in with 13.8 mil, and it doesn't seem like a lot, but there is some players that they are going to have to let walk, some guys that aren't going to come back. So I do expect that number to go up. Howie is a wizard with the cap manipulation, so I do expect that number to go up a lot, and I do see them making some more moves this offseason, as they always do. The Giants coming in with 32 million. Not bad, but for what they were this year, it's pretty horrendous when you're bottom 5 team in the league. You generally want to have at least 50 mil. But let's be honest, if you're bottom 5 in the league, you're probably hoping you're like north of 70, 80 mil in cap space. Giants are they're in for a huge rebuild. They really don't need to sign anybody to any big extensions this year. It's just going to be a lot of money walking off their books this year. And then you get to the Dallas Cowboys, and man, it is brutal, guys. Not even making the playoffs, and you're negative $7 million in cap space. They're going to have to cut a lot of guys. And when we get into the next slide here, you'll see more about that as we get into some notable pending free agents for each team. And we'll start off with the Super Bowl championship Eagles. Super Bowl champion Eagles. And my two free agents that I have kind of locked in for them are both on the defensive side of the ball. I did try to go offense and defense for each team, but with the Eagles just having that dominant of a defense and having the most free agents on that side of the ball, I had to go with two defensive players in Zach Bond and Josh Sweat. Zach Bond, obviously, defensive player of the year candidate, had a career year on what was just a 1 year kind of, I don't even want to say prove it deal. It was more so like a flyer. Zach Bond was never this in New Orleans. So for the fact that the Eagles, I mean, it's one of the many moves that Howie made that built this championship roster. It's little moves like that where you look back and it's like, oh, Zach Bond signed for a year and 8 point whatever mil or whatever it was. And then you see the kind of year he had, and it's like, wow, what an absolute steal. Now, I don't know if that was more so Vic Fangio. Was that truly, just Zach Bond's potential and he's finally living up to it? Who knows? But I do think the Eagles will try to bring him back, although I will get into how they will try to bring him back a little bit more later on in the video. And then the other one is Josh Sweat. Fantastic pass rusher, has been with the Eagles for, I believe, the last 4 years. I mean, he's just been an absolute unit with them. 2 Super Bowl appearances and, of course, the win. I believe he had 2.5 sacks in the Super Bowl the past 2 weeks ago. So big name, free agent. I think he's going to sign for some big money. And then we get into the Commanders. You got Bobby Wagner and Zach Ertz. Bobby Wagner, longtime player, longtime linebacker, had a fantastic year this year, leading that defense. although the Commanders defense wasn't great, it was still, serviceable, and that's because of Bobby Wagner. And then you get into Zach Ertz, man. And I mean, you want to talk about a guy who really, I don't want to say came out of nowhere, but he kind of did. Everybody really thought Zach Ertz was walking out of the league, to be honest. I personally thought his best years were behind him, and his best years are behind him. But I think what he's done for Jaden Daniels and being that secure tight end is such an underrated thing for young QBs. Like Herbert had Hunter Henry, Mahomes had Zach Ertz, Travis Kelce, Hurts had Dallas Goedert. I mean, Lamar had Mark Andrews. I mean, you could just go down the line. Like having that consistent, reliable tight end is so key for a young quarterback's development. So I really think they're going to do their best to bring him back. And then going on to the Cowboys, you got Zach Martin, DeMarcus Lawrence, of course, both longtime Cowboys. Kind of odd to see kind of strange that they're both free agents this year. Very curious to see what the Cowboys do with them. And then going on to the Giants, the least exciting free agent pairing of the four teams. You got Darius Slayton and Isaiah Simmons. Neither of these guys were – Darius Slayton was a long tenured member, I will say that, with the Giants. But Isaiah Simmons was somebody they signed in the past offseason. He was the former first-round pick of the Cardinals. Didn't really pan out. Super athletic, had a great combine. Just never lived up to the top – what was he, top 6 pick? Top 7 pick, I believe, in that 2020 draft. So here are my predictions for the NFC East is off season this year. So with the franchise tag, I do think the Eagles are going to go after Milton Williams. I think with the D tackle market in terms of franchise tags, it's a lot cheaper than linebackers. I know some people were thinking about them going and getting Zach Bond on the franchise tag. I don't see it happening. I think they're going to re-sign him to some big money, and rightfully so. I think they would rather use the franchise tag with the position that costs less, and that being D tackle with Milton Williams. And I do expect the Eagles to still go out and trade for another edge rusher, because if you look over on the goodbye section, I do think Josh Sweat will be the cap casualty, if you will, that ends up walking from the Eagles Super Bowl roster this year. I think he's going to sign somewhere for a pretty penny, but it's just a matter of positional need, what the defensive talent is looking like in this year's draft class, and what is going to be available from other teams in free agency this year. Looking over on out of the Cowboys, I do think they franchise tag Jordan Lewis once again. It's a position that is cheap, and a position that they probably desperately are going to need. They want somebody on opposite side, someone to play in the slot or come in for injury should, Diggs or Deron Bland go out for whatever reason. And then on the re-sign, I do have Osa Odigizua getting the re-sign. Not sure how much they're going to get for him, but if it's got to be something cheap. I mean, obviously the Cowboys are -7 in the hole, so I don't know what you can expect to do with that. And I think it's goodbye Brandon Cooks. Once again, cap casualty. Just the Cowboys should be entering rebuild mode at this point. There's no reason for them to do anything else, really, because they have just put themselves so far in the hole. Giants are very boring in this because they are in full rebuild. So you're not franchise tagging anybody in a full rebuild. They really also don't have anybody that's worth franchise tagging. Darius Slayton would be the only one, and he's not worth that kind of money. Same thing with the re-signs. You're not re-signing anybody from that trash roster. You're completely starting fresh, building up with a new QB. Anybody that you want is already under contract, so you're good there. And it's goodbye to Darius Slayton. Just another cap casualty. You don't want to pay him, and that's fine. This is what's going to have to happen for the Giants. But last up, it is the Commanders. They don't have anybody that they want to franchise tag. They have a ton of money. They would be wasting it on a franchise tag, in my opinion. They have to re-sign Zach Ertz. That is a must re-sign, even if it's just for a year. Giving Jaden another year of that consistent tight end play is key to his development, in my opinion. On the other side of that, though, going to have to let go of the veteran linebacker in Bobby Wagner. Honestly, this might be a case of Bobby just retiring. I think it's his time. He's 35, going to be 36 this year. And I just think, it is what it is. He had his time. He had his moment with the Seahawks. A little bit of a resurgence here with the Commanders, but it's time for him to walk off on a great last season if he did retire. I mean, hey, man, making the conference championship game with a rookie QB, and losing to the Super Bowl champions. I know it's a division rival, but still losing to a Super Bowl champion is always good to see. And so with that, guys, that is going to do it for me today. That is the NFC East wrapped up for the offseason. Let me know in the comments what you guys think each team is going to do, what your favorite team might do, what free agent you guys want to sign the most, trades you want to make, and all that. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And as always, we will see you next time.